If you're subscribed to this channel, chances are you're a big fan of flags, and you're probably aware of the constant news and headlines about Americans attempting to change their state flags all the time. And it shouldn't come as a surprise when so many of them are horrible seals on blue bed sheets. But like we saw with this unnecessary and hilarious attempt by South Carolina to redraw their palmetto, not all redesign attempts are equal. There is hope, however, especially with Minnesota and Utah changing from this seal on a bedsheet to these cool new flags recently. So this gave me an idea to go over all the US state flags, learn some cool facts about them, keep the ones I like, and attempt to redesign the ones that suck. I'll also highlight some of my favorite redesigns online and mention their creators. Starting off with Alabama's St. Andrew's Cross, which is simple yet beautiful. It looks great when displayed vertically, and its design is even perfect for the international stage next to the coolest international flags. Definitely keeping this one. Alaska's flag is another good one. Simple, unique, and meaningful. Makes it stand out in the Union, and the simplicity and relevance are noteworthy. The stars could be a bit bigger, but this one is a keeper as well. Arizona's flag has a lot of symbolism as well. The 13 sun rays are for the original 13 colonies, and the colors represent Arizona's copper industry and the Spanish influence in the region. Even with the writing on this one, I like the current Arkansas design. The name fits well in there, and removing it makes it look empty. Some suggest uniting the stars or removing the top one due to the Confederacy Association. They could also revert to this 1913 proposal with 3 stars if a change is necessary, but if it's not broke, don't fix it. California is another iconic banner. Not a huge fan of the text because how else would we know where we are if it didn't say it on it? Also, California was a republic for 3 weeks only. The red bar does help integrate the text better though, and we could remove it to make the bear bigger, but like Arkansas, I'm keeping the text on this one. Colorado's flag is a beauty in my opinion. I've heard people say it looks like a logo for a fruit company, but the locals fly it proudly and it's very unique, so it stays. Connecticut is the first seal on a bedsheet flag in this video. I took one grapevine from the shield and modified it. My redesign has 3 grape branches to represent the 3 oldest settlements, 5 leaves to represent Connecticut being the 5th to join the Union, as well as 8 blue and white stripes for the 8 counties that make up Connecticut. The only 2 things I like about Delaware's flag is the color scheme and the diamond shape. Everything else goes away. Reddit user Adamalis69 puts a star in the middle, hinting at Delaware being the first colony to ratify the US Constitution, making it the first state. If there's any state that deserves to have a 1 star, in a good way, it's Delaware. We could also go with the peach blossom since that's their state flower. My Florida redesign is simple. Ditch the seal in the middle, and to avoid looking like you're copying Alabama, change St. Andrew's Cross into the Spanish Cross of Burgundy for the state's historical ties to Spain, while also changing the colors from red to orange for their favorite citrus fruit and their famous sunsets. Georgia's flag is much better looking than most US state flags. The only issue some people have with it is that it's very similar to the first Confederate flag. So here's what I came up with. Big blue field with white and red stripes. I borrowed the arch and the pillars from the current flag as well as the 13 stars. Another option is to design this similarly to Wyoming's flag. The stars in the column allude to the branches of the government and the state being one of the original 13 colonies. Hawaii was never colonized by the Brits, but their first king, Kamehameha I, had British advisors, and he liked the Union Jack so much he added it to his kingdom's banner. For that reason, I think we can keep it, but if we had to redesign it, I would keep the colors, go with the wavy lines for the island and ocean vibes with the ceremonial feather standard named kahili, which is crossed by 2 paddles. This symbol is taken from the native, local Kanaka Maoli flag, which some people believe was the original flag of the Kingdom of Hawaii, although this claim is unverified and widely disputed. And if we combine my design with the local flag's colors, we end up with this beauty. What's worse than putting your name on your flag? Putting it twice. Idaho, you deserve better. I think we can go the way of Minnesota with the state's map, which would look nice. A rough shape of Idaho's map with a star on the top left. I do, however, want to highlight this cool redesign I found online by Brian Cham, and you can see all the description and details on his website. The flag of Illinois is so generic you can use it for any US state, and to change that, we can simply go back to their 1918 Centennial flag. It has a lot of stars, but it's simple and beautiful. 10 blue stars in the upper and lower white bands are for the 10 southern and 10 northern states at the time of Illinois statehood. The big white star is Illinois, of course, and the blue bar represents the river Illinois, which lent its name to the state. Just like Arkansas and even more so, Indiana's flag is pretty nice already, even with the writing. We could remove the name Indiana, but even if we keep it on, it's small and fits well in the design. Red, white, and blue with a bold eagle and a generic quote about liberty. Iowa's flag could also work for any state. Remove the big red name, center the graphic, and it's better already. We know it's Iowa without stating it in big bold letters. I'm also not a huge fan of the whole sentence. We could remove that, but the words are hidden well in the blue banner. Kansas is the sunflower state. I'm keeping blue and adding yellow and green bands for the state's landscape and agriculture, as well as this cool looking simple sunflower in the middle. Another version could look like this. I do also want to highlight this beauty by user simplistic flags on Reddit. It gives me Ohio swallowtail flag vibes, and it subtly incorporates the letter K into the shape, and I love it. For Kentucky, I took the main colors from the current flag. The main stripe shows Kentucky as being a border state between the North and the South, and I also added 15 stars as a nod to the state being the 15th to join the Union. For Louisiana, I love the mother pelican piercing her breast with her beak to feed her 3 nestlings with drops of her own blood. This is called the pelican in her piety. It's a symbol of the Eucharist, the Catholic Church, and one of the oldest motifs of Christian iconography. This is why I want to highlight this absolutely gorgeous redesign by Reddit user G. Palowich, which combines the French fleur-de-lis and the pelican and the 3 drops of blood taken from the current flag. This one is simply amazing. Maine is already working on changing the flag back to their cool 1901 flag. And while there are many ways to draw the pine tree, I like the original one because it shows the roots that stand for 3 branches of the government and 2 broken branches which hint to the 2 major territories that were once part of Maine but are now in Canada and in New Hampshire. I absolutely love Maryland's flag. It's the heraldry and history fan in me speaking, because it's the coat of arms of the 2nd Baron Baltimore, and in 2001 the North American Vexillological Association conducted a poll on its website, asking its members and the public for their opinions on flag designs in the US and Canada, and Maryland was ranked number 4. For Massachusetts, I took the heraldic display from the shield, put it on the left with 6 stripes to show it as the 6th state to join the Union. I also came across many flags with pine trees since the official maritime ensign for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts is this flag. My redesign for Michigan has 2 white chevrons representing Michigan's 2 peninsulas. Green stands for the forests and the nature, while blue stands for the Great Lakes. I also borrowed the elk's idea from the state's coat of arms. Next, we look at Minnesota. We just went from this to this. It's simple, nice symbolism behind it, no complaints, good job Minnesota. Mississippi adopted this nice flag in 2021. Yes, they have words on it, but like Indiana and Arkansas, they fit really well with the circular star design. It was selected out of these 5 finalists and it looks great. Missouri flag isn't broken, but it could be simplified by using the state flower in the middle, similar to Mississippi. I've also seen people using the fleur-de-lis to show the state's history under France, but the red, white, and blue can show the French connection. I've also seen people simplifying the main crescent and bear elements from the state's seal, but I like the hawthorn flower in the middle, personally. Montana is known as Big Sky Country. You can see it on their license plates, and agriculture is the state's primary economic sector, so I picked blue and yellow as the base colors. The buffalo skull is an important symbol for the native tribes, and it's placed on the top left to show the state's location in the northwest. For Nebraska, I'm highlighting this amazing design by Jack Sokolik. It shows the state's connection to France, as well as the wheel of an old locomotive engine and a windmill with 8 stars, each representing one of the original 8 counties of the Nebraska territory, as well as the 8 indigenous tribes of Nebraska. I feel like Nevada has a good starting point, and we can work with it. The state's official colors are blue and silver, so I used them with this horizontal triband. I kept the star on the sagebrush symbol and put them on the left side to show Nevada as part of the American West. For New Hampshire, I took a page out of St. Edward's Island in Canada, because I find the border on this flag really cool. So I came up with this border which has 10 green rectangles showing the state's 10 counties. I also added the USS Raleigh from the state's seal, and used green instead of blue since the state's coastline is small, but its forests are big. For New Jersey, I chose the state's blue and buff colors. This flag symbolizes their shoreline with the middle stripe, as well as using 3 crosses taken from Amsterdam's flag to denote that New Jersey was the 3rd state, as well as the early Dutch settlers in the state. New Mexico arguably has the best state flag, and it definitely should not change. But I do want to highlight this cool design I found on Reddit by user Correlation Causation, since the color stands out for the turquoise, which has been mined in the region for a very long time. But then again, New Mexico gets an A+ on their current flag anyway. For the Empire State, I'm looking at all the cool historical emperors. We see a lot of purple. So my New York flag has a purple background. St. George's Cross in the middle for the English colonies. The purple and white colors are taken from the indigenous Iroquois flag. And then I added a blue cross in the middle for the rivers, lakes, waterways, and the ocean. And since the rose is New York's official flower, I added it in the middle and put it in orange as a nod to the Dutch settlers. North Carolina was the 12th state to join the Union. So I put 12 alternating red and white rectangles. In the middle, I added a star used on the non-standard American flag, believed to have been carried in the Battle of Fluffer Courthouse during the American Revolution. It's an 8-pointed star which also represents the 8 people that King Charles divided the Carolina Territory for in 1663. It's blue, which completes the red, white, and blue colors in the current flag as well. North Dakota's flag is another blue bedsheet. Let me show you how this bald eagle on a blue field can work for any other state. So yeah, it needs work. I'm keeping the sun rays found on the current flag, but I'm using green and black for the agriculture and fertile soil in the state. I also added an arrowhead for the indigenous tribes, and of course in this case we have to have it pointing north. Ohio has one of the most iconic flags in the country. I like it, we shouldn't change it, let's move on to the next one. Oklahoma's current flag would have been great if it wasn't for the giant name in the middle. This one, however, posted by Reddit user MikeFrench98, keeps the symbolism, but it's simpler with a more Oklahoma color palette. Oregon has the only two-sided flag. The Oregonian newspaper organized a statewide contest in 2008 to redesign the state flag, and the winner was this one. They later added a none of the above option, which got the most votes. And in 2013, a bill was introduced into the state Senate for this design. But for my design, I'm keeping the blue and yellow and adding a reference to the wheel ruts from the Oregon Trail, and I'm adding the green for the state's forest with 2 lines, while we have the iconic beaver in the middle, of course. Just like George Washington's coat of arms inspired Washington, D.C.'s flag, I'm using Pennsylvania's namesake, William Penn, and his coat of arms for the state's flag. The state doesn't have any official colors, so we don't need to stick to the blue and yellow. The anchor and the word hope have been symbols of the Rhode Island colony and then state for a long time. They come from the biblical verse Hebrews 6:19 about hope being the anchor of the soul. I like the imagery, but I'm not a huge fan of the yellow and white since all you see is yellow smudge from far away. Here's exhibit number 1 of it flying with Armenia's flag. Instead of 13 stars, I would add 13 yellow sun rays on a blue background, and in the middle I added the anchor as the source for all the rays. South Carolina is one blue state flag I can get behind. It's iconic and beautiful in its own special way. I love the palmetto and the crescent, and it's a keeper for me for sure. For South Dakota, I'm taking my North Dakotan design, flip it so the sun and the arrowhead are pointing south. But I'm also changing the green to blue so we can keep the cool baby blue that we find in their current flag. Tennessee, Texas, and Utah are next. I really like all 3 and I wouldn't change any of them. For Vermont, I'm using blue for the rivers and lakes and green for the forests. I added 14 squares since Vermont was the 14th state to join the Union. I also chose white to represent the snowy winters, and I got the same star constellation used in the old Green Mountain Boys militia flag. Virginia puts their seal on a blue bedsheet. The seal is cool in and of itself, with the liberty and virtue figure of a woman stepping on a tyrant with a fallen crown. As a flag, however, it sucks. So I took it and made a red V shape similar to how Toronto has a T and Colorado has a C on their flags. I then took the face of Lady Liberty from this old coin and drew it in blue in the middle. As I started designing a flag for the state of Washington, I looked over so many designs other people made online. They're mostly green, white, and blue to reference the coastline, forest, mountains, and snow. But then I came across this beauty made by Bradley Lockhart. It has all that previous symbolism, but the use of the 5 mountain peaks to spell out the letters W and A is very clever. For West Virginia, I used the 2 official state colors and then highlighted the mountains that the state has. I later added a stylized drawing of the state flower in the middle. Wisconsin's motto is forward, so I'm going with the white chevron pointing to the right. I chose white for the snowy winters, and the 2 blue corners represent the state's coastlines on Lake Michigan and Lake Superior, and the green represents the forests and the farmlands. After that, I added a 4-pointed star to represent the native tribes as well as the 3 nations that ruled over Wisconsin, France, Great Britain, and the United States. Wyoming was so close to having a great flag. I would remove the seal and enlarge the white American bison. It also keeps all the symbols and colors in there and looks so much better. And even though Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico are not states, their flags are great and they deserve a shout out in this video. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let us know which flag redesign was your favorite, as well as any questions or ideas or comments for future videos down in the comments below. Subscribe for more content like this, and I will see you next time on Council of Knowledge.